One of the strangest things that I see us do in corporate is we take someone who is really good at their job, we promote them into management or into leadership, and we go, okay, you go figure out how you're going to manage humans. Without the adequate support or adequate training, so many leaders are then questioning themselves and thinking to themselves, am I really cut out for this? Am I making the right decisions? Am I leaning in too much? Am I leaning out too much? I don't know what I'm doing here. So if you're new to leadership, or you want to move into leadership one day, or you're actually a practice leader and you just want a few more tips on how to be better, this video is for you. I'm going to give you 3 ridiculously simple frameworks that I believe every new leader should be taught, because they teach you things like what your team needs from you, when you should lean in, when you should lean out, and ultimately they will make you a more confident leader. Now, my inspiration for this video came from a conversation I recently had with a mentee who's in my career accelerator. They were relatively new to leadership. They had about a team of 5 reporting into them, and they were struggling to get them to build a certain skill or to do work in a certain way that they know that they needed to do to be successful in their roles. And this was what they were asking me. Like, I want my team to write convincing, structured proposals for their campaign launches. How do I get them to do that? And realistically, you could replace this part here with anything, right? You could be thinking things like, I want my team to run much more effective stakeholder management conversations, or I want my team to communicate to senior leadership in a way that they hear them, or I want my team to write analysis reports that lead into clear recommendations. It could be anything on how you want your team to work. How do I get them to do that? And the reality is, so many leaders kind of struggle with this. It's just like they have a way in which they want their team to operate, or they know what success looks like, or they know what good looks like, but they struggle. They don't have the tools or the capabilities to help express that to their team properly. Now, a little bit more context of this particular leader. They were new to leadership. So for them, they were like questioning themselves, right? They were asking themselves those questions of, am I cut out for this? Am I leaning in too much? Am I micromanaging? Am I leaning out too much? Like, they were asking themselves all these questions and getting caught up in it. So they weren't confident in their leadership style yet. And they were saying things to themselves like, I don't want to be seen as a micromanager. A lot of new leaders fear this. They worry that they're going to be perceived as a micromanager, and that's kind of like toxic in certain circles. They were also saying things like, I want the team to feel like they own the work, because that's what I asked them. Like, they had actually said to their team, this is yours to own. And so what they then felt like was, if they then came in with too much direction, that they were taking that ownership away from them. Again, that's another common thing that I see, particularly amongst new leaders, or even just leaders who haven't been taught these frameworks that I'm going to take you through. And what I did, I gave them 2 frameworks. Now, today we're going to go through 3. And what those 2 frameworks allowed them to do, or what the 3 frameworks that we'll go through today allowed them to do, was think, rather than how do I get them to do that, it starts to allow yourself to ask the question of, how involved should I actually be? What does this person need from me? And how am I showing up? Am I showing up as the leader that they need me to be? And when I showed them these frameworks, their answer was like, oh wow, it's just like, this seems so obvious, this seems so simple. And it is. This stuff is so obvious and so simple once you think about it and once you're exposed to it. The problem I see today is that so many leaders just simply aren't exposed to this. So that's my gift to you today. All right, so framework number 1. Okay, this comes from teaching, and this actually came from my husband. Shout out to my husband, who spent over 15 years in education and was a vice principal. And this is a framework that teachers use when they are teaching new concepts to their students. And it's called the gradual release of responsibility, or I do, we do, you do. I find that is a bit more catchy. And effectively, what teachers do, particularly when they are teaching new things to students, because they know that there is like a learning chasm, right? When you're learning something new, you need more support until you are more capable of doing the task yourself. And so there is this gradual release of responsibility where the teacher does it first and shows the students what they need to do. So teacher models and gives really direct instructions on what to do. Then there is a we do, which is you're working on it together. So it's guided practice or collaborative work. And then it's you do. The student does the work. It's independent practice and there's student autonomy. And you can see that when it's I do, it's more responsibilities on the teacher. And when it's you do, there's more responsibility on the student. This same principle and model can be used within the workplace. And I think a lot of leaders steer away from this because of this fear of micromanaging and this sometimes I see this sort of like false praise or false pride about empowering the team and letting the team do the job. But the reality is your team won't succeed unless they're really clear on what success looks like. And so if you start over here and you just expect them to go off on their own and know what success looks like, you could be setting them up to fail. So I always recommend that leaders at least think about this concept and practice it. So if we go back to the example above, which was, I want my team to be able to, I'm going to like scroll and it's going to take me a while. I want my team to write convincing structured proposals for their campaign launches. If you then think about the I do, we do, you do framework. So in terms of I do, that would be that leader writing the actual launch proposal, and not just writing it and then sharing with the team what the ingredients are for why it is, what success looks like in it. So for instance, a really solid campaign proposal will have things like a competitor review, it will have customer insight, but they need to not only show the work, but also what is expected within that work. Then we do could be they co-write the proposal together, or it might be that they edit the document live and they sit next to each other and they make edits and explain why those edits are happening. And then you do is that the team is actually just writing the proposal, and your job as the leader is just reviewing it once it's written. Another example in the data analysis world is like I do the data analysis and I show you how it's done. We do could be you do the data analysis, but we have step-by-step reviews at each point where it makes sense to, or in each point of writing up the analysis or the report. All you do is off you go. Here's what success looks like. Here's the outcome that we're after. You go and do it, and then we'll have a check-in when you're ready. So that framework alone should be really helpful for you to rethink about, are there moments when your team has needed you to do it first before they can take it on and do it themselves? The second framework that I want to get you across is called situational leadership. And this is based on a framework. This framework is based on the fact that two people will need different things from you. But not only will two people need different things from you. So team member A will need something different from you than team member B. Team member A may also need something different from you depending on the moment that they're in. So let me explain this to you. Let's say team member A has been in the team for 2 years. They've been doing the same job for 2 years. They've got it like down pat. Versus team member B, who is brand new to the company and brand new to the function and actually hasn't done this type of work before. They're going to need a lot more hand-holding from you than this person. And if you hand-hold this person, they're probably going to get pissed off. But then this same person, let's say that they've put into a situation where they're out of their comfort zone. Let's say that they've been put onto a cross-functional project and they've never worked on that type of work before. They've never worked with those team members before and they're out of their depth. In that moment, they're going to need something different from you. So situational leadership takes this all into account and basically identifies that people need different things from their leaders in different moments. And so actually a really great leadership skill, it's not like I empower the team and it's not, I give them autonomy. A really great leadership skill is I know when to adapt to their needs. And sometimes they need empowerment and autonomy, and other times they actually need a lot of direction from you. It's knowing which one to give them and in which moments. So there is a 2x2 model here. There's always a quadrant model. And basically the different quadrants are defined on the level of direction they need from you. So how much direction, how clear do you need to be, how detailed do you need to be in the steps that need to get done, versus how much support they need from you. Do they need you to sit there and coach them and just be a supporting, like positive energy around them, or do they need you to lean away and get out? So there's 4 different needs, I suppose. One, like over here where it's high directive behavior and low support, they actually just need you to be directing them. That is giving them details on, here's what success looks like. You need to do X, Y, Z. Here's the 5 steps that you need to do. Here's the timeline that you should do it in, but really spelling it out for them. Then if they're in this quadrant here where actually they need high direction and high support, you might be more in a coaching situation with them where they need your direction, but also what they need from you is a bit of like confidence and support. And so they need you to kind of coach them through it more so than just only clear direction and just telling them here's the steps to get things done. Over here, when they're looking for more high supportive behavior and low directive behavior, this is when they are just, they might be questioning themselves a little bit, and they just want to make sure that your door is open so they can come to you with any questions. And so you have to ensure that you create that space for them. Versus down here, low support, low direct. This is when they've got this. All you have to do is say, hey, I need this outcome by this date, and you leave it with them. And actually, if you get too involved in these moments, you will annoy the team. So be really pay attention to when they just want you to delegate to them. Now, again, let's go through our team members. So team member A woman, sorry, the team member here who in moment A, she's had 2 years in the business and she's working on the same project time and time again. Realistically, for her in this moment, she doesn't really need you to lean in, and she's going to be sitting over here in this delegating quadrant. Over here, you've got team member B, who is brand new to the team and brand new to the function. They are likely going to need you to just be really directive, but they might very quickly move into coaching as well, where they need less and less like bullet points, step by step from you, and they need you to just be there to support them as well. But it is likely that they need this to begin with. Versus team member A in moment B. So she's in role 2 years, but she's now working on a new cross-functional project, new team, new topic. She's out of her comfort zone. She is likely going to need you to be in either supporting or in coaching. She's going to need you to have an open door for her. She's going to need you to be present when she has questions, but she's going to need you to check in a lot more than when you were checking in on the project that she's used to doing. So each of these quadrants require different actions from you, and it looks different. The way you will interact with your team is different. So for instance, if you're in directing, this is where you are doing things like providing a checklist of steps and sitting beside them as they complete them. Like that might feel like micromanaging to some people, but actually there are moments when it is needed and your team will thank you for it. It can look like sending them past documents or reports to be replicated, so they have a bit of a roadmap of like, okay, cool, this is what's been done before, I can work with this. They also might need you to provide update to language that they use in a report and actually go in there and fix it for them. Those who are in coaching, they may need things from you like, let's review a presentation together, and you provide feedback in the moment and the reasons why. Very important to provide the reasons why so they actually learn. It could be that you attend the first meeting of a project and then you sit there and you provide feedback, but then you step away. And it could be that you design a project plan approach together, but then you let them take through the details. Over the other side, if a person is in supporting, what they're going to need from you is like review a proposed plan before kickoff and soundboard ideas. But realistically, this is more, they want to lead the work. They just want to question things with you and make sure that you do check-ins when needed. Now, the thing is, they may not call this out to you, so you might need to proactively put the check-ins in. You just need to read the team member. And then in terms of delegating, like ask for milestone updates, like get your updates when you require them, and you might just read the final presentation before it's sent to a broader stakeholder group. A couple of things on this. One thing I have picked up on is team members often won't have the confidence to say to their leader, hey, this is new to me, so I'm going to need a little bit more from you. I actually need you to lean a bit more into coaching, or they're actually just never going to say that. They're not going to ever say, I need you to move into coaching instead of supporting. But they also just won't say, hey, this is new to me and I'm struggling. I need more from you. The reason people don't do that is because they worry that then forms a perception of them that they're not good at their job, which is so not true. It is actually a sign of great maturity and great self-awareness. So leaders, take note of that. Sometimes you will have to ask the question, what kind of support do you need from me? And you might even have to be so overt to say, would it benefit you if I gave you some step-by-step instructions, or do you want me to lean out? Like you have to ask them really direct questions. And team members, for you, I'd encourage you to just share with your leader, like, hey, this work is actually, I'm a bit out of my comfort zone right now. I'm going to need a little bit more from you. Can we have a check-in? That is a good leader. Most leaders won't see that as a poor reflection on your capability. They will see it as a strong reflection of your self-awareness and maturity. So I really do recommend that you raise it if you need to. Now, this last framework, this is a special add-on, let's call it. And it's not one that is commonly spoken about within corporate environments. Like, it's not one that you would go to a corporate training, and they would talk to you about this. And it's actually more used within coaching and psychology. But I actually find it really, really, really beneficial. And I wish that more people knew about this. So it's called the ego state model. And this is based on the transactional analysis theory, and it is a psychological theory founded in the 50s. And it states that in any given moment, a person is responding from one of three psychological ego states. And basically, what they found in their research was that we're either responding from a parent state, an adult state, or a child state. And these states are built into our subconscious based on our upbringing and based on the different people and role models that we've had within our life. If it, like, parent can be split into critical parent or nurturing. So critical parent being like the type who is a bit more abrasive and giving like criticism, nurturing being overly warm and overly comforting, but in a way where actually it might not be overly helpful, particularly in a work environment. And child can be free or adapted. Free is sort of more like the spontaneous nature of children. And adapted is more the people pleasing, like when you adapt to what you think that person wants, because kids and actually adults seek validation and recognition from their parents. So the critical parent, when we're in this parent ego state, we are often showing attitudes and behaviors that are copied from authority figures of when we were growing up. And we just default into it. It just happens. And when we're in our child state, we're showing reactions from our childhood. So people pleasing, rebellious, or spontaneous. Adult state is the clearest state that you can be in. It is when you are less reactive, your cortisol levels are lower, and you're able to think more critically, more clearly, and provide more collaborative responses. So it's when you're rational, you're present, it's when you're rational, you're in the present moment state, you're thinking in a fact-based, curious, and non-judgmental manner. And I guarantee you, a lot of people, particularly in the corporate environment, are not always sitting in the adult state. Now, why this is important, the way in which you show up will drive and influence the way in which the other person shows up. So if you show up in critical parent, it is more likely that the person you are talking to will respond as a child, and you're just not going to get anywhere. If you show up as child, it's likely that they're going to show up as critical parent or as a child. But if you do your best to act in this adult way, based on this theory, it is much more likely that you're going to invite the person you're working with to also respond in the adult way. So I'll give you some examples of how this plays out, but just like, have you ever received an email from someone and it's just like really pissed you off? It's been, or a Slack, or even just in a meeting where someone has said something and they're coming from either a really critical place, or they're just not practicing empathy, or they're abrasive or whatever, and it's really pissed you off. In that moment, you have a moment to choose, and most of us, I guarantee you, we're not then choosing, okay, how can I be curious here? How can I respond rationally? How can I respond in the best way? You're actually probably getting defensive or pissed off and like showing that in your emotions and in your emotional state. And that then just has a laddering effect in terms of like how productive that conversation is. So some examples of what this might look like. If you were, let's say it's the scenario of giving feedback. If you're a critical parent, the way that you might be giving that feedback is like, this is late again. Or if you were a nurturing parent, you might say like, don't worry about this. Like, don't worry about it being late. Like, I'll sort it. What happens then is that people respond from the child. And so in that instance, they'll say things like, apologies, it won't happen again, because they're trying to people please. Or you get the rebellious, which is like, yeah, I've just got too much on. Neither of those conversations are productive. Where you want to get to is this adult-based conversation. And the adult version of giving that feedback might have been, I noticed this is after the deadline, talk me through what happened. All of a sudden, you are inviting them to come to that conversation, to say something like, yes, you're right, you're absolutely right. I didn't manage my time well on this. I actually might need a bit of support from you in XYZ. But that's much better conversation than what these could be. Let's say there's an idea thrown around in a meeting. The parent response, critical parent, could be, that won't work, we've tried that before and it failed. I've heard that so many times. The nurturing parent might be, that's a lovely idea, we can figure out the details, which is also not super helpful. The child version could be, oh, that's exciting, we could also do X and Y and Z and blah, 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 and have like all this scattered thinking. Helpful and encouraging, but may not be overly productive. The adult version would be, interesting. What problem is it solving, and what would we need to know to test if it works? You can see you're acting from curiosity, and you're inviting curiosity from the room, and that leads to more productive conversations. And then the final example in this is when there's a disagreement. So a critical parent view of this could be, look, I've been doing this for X years, just trust me. And like super dismissive, right? The nurturing parent could be, let's just go with whatever's easiest, like really trying to just provide support to the room. Not overly helpful. The child version could be, oh, do you know what? You're probably right. I don't feel strongly either way. So like, let's just go with your point. And I know I've definitely sat in that before because I can be a people pleaser. Versus the adult version. I see things differently. Let's walk through both views and see where the misalignment is. Again, you're just inviting a much more productive conversation. So I think this is a great leadership framework because we can all be much more responsive in the workplace and less reactive. I think this is helpful for when you're working with your team, but also just your teammates. So in every moment where you're feeling that little niggle of a trigger underneath, just try to pause and respond from your adult versus your critical parent or your child. And we all do it. So those are the 3 frameworks that I believe every manager should know. And what this does is it helps us rewrite this initial question that I had from my mentee. I want my team to write convincing structured proposals for their campaign launches. How do I get them to do that? Rather than how do I get them to do that, you're starting to ask questions like, what do they need to see me demonstrate? What level of direction does this person need from me? And how am I showing up in the conversation? And those are much more productive questions that enable you to make better decisions in terms of what your team needs from you and how you respond to them. These frameworks allow you to adapt. And as I said, like being able to adapt is actually one of the strongest leadership skills that you can have. Now, if you're listening to this thinking, this is exactly the kind of stuff that nobody's ever taught me in becoming a leader, and I need this help, I need to build this confidence as a leader. These are the exact types of techniques and tools and frameworks and how to use them that I go through in my Career Accelerator. So if you're interested in taking part and joining amazing women in their career journey, then find me on LinkedIn and send me a DM. And in the meantime, if you are keen to continue your leadership journey, check out this video here on how to build confidence because it is a key critical ingredient for you to be a great leader.